Hi everyone, I am Didem, and today I will make a compare-contrast analysis of The Zoo Story by Edward Albee and Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. So let's start with the definition of existentialism. Existentialism is a movement in philosophy and literature that began in the mid to late uh, 19th century and reached its peak in middle 20th century France. It generally emphasizes the individual existence, freedom, and choice. It is based on the idea that humans define their own meaning in life and try to make reasonable decisions despite existing in an irrational universe. It mainly focuses on the question of human existence and proving existence. Existentialists say that the way to prove your existence is to become entirely free and take personal responsibilities. So look at the topics of existentialism. 1. Importance of the individual. 2. Importance of choice. 3. Anxiety regarding life and death. 4. Meaning and absurdity. 5. Authenticity and responsibility. 6. Social criticism. 7. Importance of personal relations. So, both in The Zoo Story by Edward Albee and Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night poem by Dylan Thomas, there is a war of existence that leads to anxiety regarding life and death. While in The Zoo Story, anxiety towards death is not too much uh, or even ignored, but in the Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night poem, although that is inevitable, fighting against it and not giving up immediately is necessary. So, my first support is in both works that is dealt with in a different way. What I mean by saying that is, in the Zoo Story, we see Jerry decides to poison his neighbor's dog. He says that his goal was to kill him, but he failed. One day on his way home, he buys a hamburger and puts a lethal dose of rat poison into it. The dog gets sick after eating this meat and fights not to die. The dog eventually overcomes the disease and doesn't die. However, in the Do Not Go Gentle Into That Goodnight poem, there is a message from a son to his dying father. We can see that in the poem's final stanza, the speaker directly addresses his dying father. He says that, "And you, my father, there on the sad height." The speaker encourages his father facing with death, but unfortunately, his father dies. The conclusion we must draw from here is that even the dog fights death and it survives, but no matter how hard the poet's father fought, he eventually dies. My second support is while life in the Zoo Story is treated in a meaningless perspective, in the poem, a purpose for life is shown. In the Zoo Story, Jerry implies that life has no meaning and death is an absurd thing. He shows these with his actions in the story. Unlike Peter, he doesn't have a well paid job, he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have children, he doesn't have a normal house, he doesn't have even a family. Jerry does not have a purpose to live. He doesn't care much about life. He also implies that life has no meaning because you eventually die. However, in Do Not Go Gentle Into That Goodnight poem, in the fourth line, the speaker says that, though wise men at their end know dark is right. He means that death is inevitable and everyone will eventually die one day, but he doesn't mean that people should immediately give up. He implies that people should fight against it bravely and fiercely. He also clarifies that death helps people to think that life is precious and worth living. We can see that in the symbols in the poem, such as light and lightning, because light and lightning symbolize life and the best parts of life that's worth fighting. So, my last support is finally we can observe that there is a distinction between these two works in terms of anxiety about death and life. In the zoo story, Jerry is very anxious about his existence. Uh, he is not happy to live, but in the end, he is happy to die because he releases his anxiety. He thanks Peter a lot. But however, in the Do Not Go Gentle into That Goodnight poem, we see anxiety towards death, but the speaker is not anxious about death. He is not afraid of that. He is anxious about the precious things in life. He is anxious about the life. So, to summarize, in these works, there is anxiety towards life and death from various perspectives. In the zoo story, Jerry thinks that life is not worth living. His life has no meaning. Therefore, he wants to give meaning to his own life and his existence with that. And the play's themes are fragmentation, alienation, and isolation, which cause anxiety regarding life. Um, on the contrary, in Do Not Go Gentle into That Goodnight poem, the speaker underlines that death is inevitable and everyone will die someday. There is a reason for our existence, and people should not forget how life is precious. It is worth living and we should fight for it. So, when we come to the literary significance of this topic, as we can see in these two literary works, all humans somehow experience anxiety regarding life and death. We can have different perspectives, we can define our own meaning in life and try to make logical decisions to prove our existence. Thank you for listening me.